A University of Colorado student concerned about all of the activity at off-campus parties during the past opening weekend. So concerned about the spread of COVID, he sent a formal letter to Boulder County Public Health and CU looking for action. University and Boulder leaders say they are working to crack down on parties on the Hill, but as soon as students returned, it looks like it was the same old problem. 9 News reporter Nelson Garcia talked to the student who complained and the people who vowed to do something about it.
Despite efforts to discourage parties on University Hill in Boulder,
frankly frustrated.
Miles Levin walked around this past opening weekend and found this.
People did not have masks on. People did not have any physical distancing between one another in large groups.
Levin is a senior who drafted this letter to the University of Colorado and other entities with worries that what's happening on the Hill is undermining CU's efforts to run in-person learning on campus.
These students' actions implicate everyone else in the community. It's not just they themselves who are affected, it's everyone.
It's very concerning to us.
China Gacetis is with Boulder County Public Health, who could recommend that the campus be closed if this problem continues. But she admits that may not even be the answer.
That leaves a whole bunch of young people in their apartments off campus all day long and all night long. So I'm not sure if that will actually fix the problem.
They need to enforce their policy outside of the classroom. And I don't think they're doing that currently.
CU Dean of Students J.B. Banks says about a dozen students have been identified on the Hill for the parties, starting a process that could lead to suspension.
It wasn't all of our students. You're talking about a portion of our students who made those decisions. Doesn't mean that it was the safest decision to make. But I think what we've done and what we put in place will certainly help to mitigate some of these circumstances.
Levin wants to see a change to keep campus safe from COVID.
To have that socialization at a time where it's at an expense for others, I think isn't okay.
In Boulder, Nelson Garcia, 9 News.
And Banks says that he's confident in CU's plans to address this and that he believes it will work over time, pointing out that the majority of CU students have been wearing masks and practicing social distancing since the fall semester began, despite the attention that's being given to the parties on the Hill. And if you're wondering, our reporter Nelson Garcia did ask Levin to take off his mask just for that interview.
We're going to take a look outside where the images never quite illustrate how hot it is. It's hot and it's still hazy. Kathy's in the Weather Center with a first look at your forecast. It's kind of stifling.
You know, Kim, it'd be one thing if it was just the heat, but the air quality is so poor, and it makes it tough. It really does. Yeah, and you know, anybody who's lived here for any length of time knows this is so not what Colorado is like and what it looks like, and we're so spoiled by having those beautiful blue skies every day this time of year, but not today. Changes are coming, though. Outside, wildfire smoke and ozone, another air quality alert. We're 97 degrees. The record today is 99, so we're right there. The heat continues across the northern plain states through the desert southwest into southern California, and there is some moisture to work with, but high bay storms producing wind and lightning, that's something fire managers do not want to see, sparking additional small fires with the lightning that's coming in across the foothills. We've got these humidity values in the 10 to 15% range, and we don't expect that they're going to be increasing a whole lot. So we're monitoring the winds shifting in the Grizzly Creek fire zone and the Pine Gulch fire area. The winds are light there, with gusty winds kicking up around the Williams Fork fire zone and also the Cameron Peak fire out of the northwest. And so the air quality alerts will be scaled back and then reinstated, and these storms that are coming off the foothills are not bringing the rain we need, but there are some signs of change by the end of the week, and cooler air is coming. So mid-90s now after sunset, temperatures drop in the 80s. In our main weather segment, I will detail which day we're going to see cooler weather and maybe some beneficial rain showers. Finally, some good news from the weather department, Kim.
We turn to the Pine Gulch fire near Grand Junction. It has not burned any homes, but it is devastating people in different ways. It is now the second largest wildfire in state history, and the flames burned land that cattle have been grazing on, so ranchers now need time to recover. In the meantime, though, the community is helping, and 9 News reporter Noel Brennan joins us now from Fruita, just southwest of the fire, where, Noel, it is yet another hot and dry day out there.
It is, Tom, and the fire, it actually burned all of that vegetation that a lot of the cattle out here have been grazing on. And so we know that ranchers have had to be out there. They're rounding up their cattle, trying to bring them home to safety, but it has been hot and dry and windy out here. These are very long days, but the community has stepped up and is helping these ranchers get through the day a little bit more easily. So it started with a phone call that Michelle Gilliland made to a friend. She owns a company called DMN Meats in Fruita. It's a meat processing company. So the friends came up with a plan to donate dinners to ranching families impacted by the Pine Gulch fire. A Facebook post caught the community's attention, and soon 50 to 60 people joined the effort to help, including catering companies on the western slope. Each afternoon, the crew at D&M Meats takes a break from cutting meat and starts prepping meals for delivery. Most of the food comes from neighbors in the community, and they've been feeding families every night since last Friday.
We just wanted them to know we're thinking about them, and we love them, and we want them to be able to keep doing what they're doing, and offers of help are always here from all of us if they need anything.
Want to or no? No. So back here live, we have been able to see just a small plume of smoke over my shoulder here. It is still very hazy and kind of hard to see the smoke in the distance. But at last check, we know the Pine Gulch fire, the second largest fire in Colorado history, Tom. It has burned about 135,000 acres, and at last check was 47% contained. Just hoping that the winds do not pick up and that the weather cools off just a little bit as the week goes on.
We have been talking about this, of course, the very difficult year of 2020 with the economy as it is, unemployment becoming what it is, and the impact now. You talk about that massive derecho that swept through Iowa, and now these wildfires and what they're doing to the people who are needing the economy to turn in a different direction right now. But out west, they're looking at this is a long-term tough problem they're facing.
Oh, absolutely, Tom. And you talk about losing these fields where the cattle graze on. That's going to be a long-term impact. It's going to cost them more to buy hay to feed the cattle, and it's going to be a long recovery for them. So they're not only dealing with the environmental impact from this fire, but also the effects of COVID-19. So it really is a double punch for them out here. Yeah, we certainly will keep an eye on the people having to deal with that throughout Colorado and on the western slope. That's where Noel Brennan is. All right, Noel, thanks. Of course, the Pine Gulch fire is the largest fire burning in the state right now. We're also continuing to watch the three other major fires in Colorado. The Cameron Peak fire burning uncontained in Poudre Canyon. The Williams Fork fire in Grand County, smaller, just 5% contained. And fire crews are making some good progress regarding the Grizzly Creek fire. That's the one along I-70 near Glenwood Springs. That is now up to 44% containment, and the highway did open yesterday. In total, though, these fires have burned nearly 200,000 acres or 300 square miles in Colorado just this month.
The University of Northern Colorado says one of their students was assaulted because of the color of his skin on Saturday. This happened outside school property, but UNC is taking a stance. The Chief Diversity Officer and Associate Vice President for Student Affairs, Tobias Guzman, says the perpetrator of the assault was calling the student racial slurs. The student didn't want to mess with any of his classes today because he missed any of them, because he says he has a future ahead. UNC is supporting him with resources and counseling.
This is a journey, and colleges and universities in our country are facing many social issues, and we have to get it together. You know, violence and crimes, there's just no need for it. And at UNC, we're not going to tolerate that.
Greeley Police is also investigating this incident, saying the student was attending a party when he was assaulted. Police are looking into the possibility of a racially motivated crime, but say they can't say for a fact that it was a hate crime because it's too early in the investigation. UNC has a student code of conduct that does not tolerate hate crimes perpetrated by students. The school says it could lead to expulsion.
The city of Denver cleared out another homeless camp this morning. This time it was at 22nd and Stout. A few people did show up to protest, wanting to protect the places where people experiencing homelessness are staying. While our cameras were there, things remained relatively peaceful. But later in the morning, those protesters and police did get into a confrontation. Video and photos of that were shared with us and online. In all, police say they arrested 4 people, 2 for disobedience. DPD's telling us that's likely for not staying behind a police line. A third, though, is being held for investigation of assault on an officer, and a fourth had a warrant out for their arrest. People on social media also accuse DPD of restraining a man in that video by holding him down with a knee to his neck. A spokesperson for Denver Police told us that they review all use of force incidents.
Incredibly, a 54-year-old motorcyclist is alive today after a pickup truck crashed into him last week on I-25. That dash cam video, well, it was caught on video. It was all viral, and now so many people across the country are asking, how is the man on the motorcycle doing? Our Lori Lizarraga caught up with him today to find out.
Just another day to get started and moving forward.
This was not the view Quentin Quidley came here to see.
There's nowhere else to ride except Colorado.
Last week, he, his brother James, and a couple of friends were on an annual cross-country bike trip. Colorado was supposed to be the highlight.
They take pictures in Sturgis and their bike weeks and everything. I'm like, save your film, man. We're gonna take you to the good stuff. We just didn't make it.
This was as far as they got. I-25 near Castle Pines. Quentin and his brother made a quick jump into the fast lane, right in front of a black pickup. They believe it was that move that provoked what happened next.
We're miles down the road, cruising on our Sunday afternoon, when once again, this black truck appears from all the way over.
All the way over 4 lanes.
And that's when he looked at me and his hand, and just brought his truck right into me.
Slamming the 54-year-old off his bike.
Well, half a dozen broken ribs, or some in multiple places.
Since last week, Quentin has tried to recover here, 1,200 miles from anyone he knows.
Hope he gets well, recovers, and able to ride again.
But today, he wasn't alone.
We're just here to support him and let him know that we're with him.
The Castle Pines Motorcycle Club made sure of that.
Thank you, guys. That means a lot. You know, it's just emotional knowing that, you know, when I see the bikes, that I know I'll be able to ride again.
After 10 days at Sky Ridge.
Glad you're gonna get out of here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Quentin is finally headed home.
It just means so much that people care.
Lori Lizarraga, 9 News.
Pretty amazing. He's going home. Colorado State Patrol has not filed any charges against the driver of the pickup. The investigation is still open. It's ongoing. Meanwhile, James Quidley started a fundraiser for his brother to help with his medical bills on his long road to recovery. So far, it's at $7,000. If you want to help out, the information is on 9news.com.